حي على الفلاح.
A therapist talking about he's done thousands of cases of people that come to him for arbitration, for therapy, couples that are having a lot of trouble, they're on the verge of divorce and things like that, right? And he's like, after years and years of his experience, he was asked to summarize, what do you think is the root, like, of the conflict? And when two people are heading towards divorce, what seems to be the root problem, right? Can you point out to one or two things? One of the things he pointed out, you know what it was? That when you look at your own mistakes, you say it's understandable, and when you look at the other mistakes, you say that's how they really are. Like you assume them to be guilty, right? Once you start developing that mindset, then you're headed towards the end of a relationship. It's going to cut because you can no longer give benefit of the doubt anymore. You can't see them as a person anymore. You've already painted a picture and you won't undo it, right? So that's another thing we have to become. When Allah says wattaqul arham, what I'm trying to tell you is, if we're going to have taqwa of the relationships, then that means we have to be mindful of the things that can destroy the relationship, that can separate the hearts. And taqwa, by the way, is in the hearts, right? At-taqwa hahuna. Quran says, فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, that is from the taqwa of the hearts. So this taqwa also has to do with the way we feel towards someone, the way we feel towards Allah, and in this case, the way we feel towards family members, right? And those two things go hand in hand. A third one that's a little bit more sensitive is actually money matters. Money matters. In our religion, money is a big deal. Earning halal is a big deal. Giving zakat is a fundamental pillar. Not consuming haram money is a big deal, right? Riba is a big problem. It's a serious thing. So, and stealing is a serious thing. Not giving the widow her share, or not giving the inheritance, these are big crimes. Allah has elaborated financial crimes in great detail. In fact, Allah has even talked about bribery and using your influence to gain advantage in business and things like that, or corrupting politicians. ولا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل وتدلوا بها إلى الحكام لتأكلوا فريقا من أموال الناس بالإثم. Right? وأنتم تعلمون. Don't give your money to buy influence so some people can consume the money at the expense of everyone else. Don't do those kinds of things. So financial corruption is actually a major component of taqwa. By the way, that ayah that I just mentioned about financial, consciousness and being mindful of not being corrupt with your money is mentioned right after the ayat of Ramadan. The month in which we develop taqwa, right after you have taqwa, fix your money situation. Right? Don't be corrupt with your money. Well, we need to bring the money conversation into the family matters too. If we're going to have taqwa of al-arham, then it has to be that inheritance disputes are solved by Allah's book with taqwa. When you get married, you have to take financial responsibility for your spouse. وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. I cannot ask my wife to pay the bills. I can't tell my wife to go. If you couldn't support her financially, then you shouldn't be in the taking the nikah contract on and then saying, well, you have to pay your own. Or you go to a restaurant, you're like, well, I only ate 2 pieces of chicken, that means I'm paying 18.37. You ate 3 pieces of chicken, you pay 21.30. It's not going to work. That's not taqwa wal arham. وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ. You got to spend on the kids. You got to spend on you have to take care of your parents. And what happens sometimes in this taqwa is that, because a lot of times men are in, by the way, men are not the only ones in this situation. Sometimes women are in a situation where they're earning all the income. That happens too. There are situations like that, and there are sometimes understandable situations like that, like the daughter of the old man in Madian, whose daughters were basically taking the animals out to graze, so they're the ones making the money in the house, right? That's in the Quran, in Surah Al-Qasas. So situations like that can happen. Or there was a married couple and the husband became disabled and the wife has to do work and she's supporting him financially. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha supported Rasul financially for a time. There are situations like that exist that are based on mutual understanding. That's different. That's a separate thing. But outside of that, what I'm trying to tell you is, I cannot impose a financial obligation that Allah did not impose. And I cannot make, just like in the taqwa of Allah, I cannot make haram what Allah has made halal. And I cannot make halal what Allah has made haram. The same way in my financial dealings, I cannot tell my wife, hey, I don't like my mother, I don't like your mother. Don't give her a gift this Eid. I can't do that. Why is she doesn't have a right to give her mother a gift? She doesn't have a right to take care of her cousin who needs a loan, or what? It's her choice. That's a goodness that Allah has made that halal for her. In fact, it's even an act of ibadah. Why would I stop her from doing that? And the same way she cannot stop the husband. Hey, you said you're going to give your mom this, this, this. Why are you going to give her this, this, this? Your mom has enough, or your dad has enough. You know, she can't do that to you. And your mother can't come along and say, I see you're taking your wife on a vacation, huh? Don't take me on a vacation, right? Your wife has a right. She has a right. And your mom can't come and impose her judgments on how you're going to spend on your spouse or your children. So you're stuck in the middle. Everybody hates you because whoever you spend on, you make somebody else angry. Congratulations on being a man, right? But the idea is that you have to have taqwa of Allah, in that you're mindful that you're being fair in all of your financial dealings, in all of your financial responsibilities, and you're giving people what their rights are. That's actually part of what taqul arham. In fact, early commentators on this ayah said that this wattaqul arham has to do with inheritance law first, because inheritance law is coming later on. In other words, they understood taqwa of the close relationships will have to do with money matters. The ugliest family dispute happens when the wealthy father dies and the children are at each other's throats. Or when somebody dies and everybody's like, who's going to get the house? Who's going to get the car? Who's going to get the land? Who's going to get the farm? Who's going to get this? Who's going to get that? And there's dispute. People that used to be brothers and hugging each other at Eid are now taking each other to court. For what? For a goat? For a house? For just a patch of land, which you're going to be under it in a little bit, but you're destroying family ties because of it. So money is yet another thing that we have to be mindful of in terms of Allah, but also in terms of family. The final thing I'm going to mention is time. Is time. Allah has created this system of taqwa with Him, and it revolves around time. There are specific times when I'm supposed to pray. There's a specific time when we go to Hajj. We're in Hajj season now. May Allah accept the Hajj of all of the Hujjaj. And those of us that haven't had the rizq to go to Hajj, that Allah provide you the rizq to go to Hajj. So there's a specific time for Hajj. There's a specific time for fasting. There's a specific time for prayer. There's a specific time for Eid. The entire religion and our taqwa of Allah, our mindfulness of Allah, is actually about taking advantage of particular times. And even voluntary times, there are special times to make dua. There are special times to make adhkar. وَالْمُسْتَغْفِرِينَ بِالْأَسْحَارِ حِينَ تُصْبِحُونَ. Early mornings, late at night. There are times, and times. Well, if we apply that formula and what it could mean for our families, then there are times that we have to give. Rasulullah used to give allotted times to his spouses. There has to be dedicated time where people that have a relationship with you feel like they got your individual attention. If you, for example, have 3 children, right? And the only time you talk to them is how was dinner, how's school, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? There's a time where it's just you and your daughter. Even if it's 10 minutes, it's just you and her. She got exclusive time from you, right? And you made it into a habit. You disciplined yourself. This is the time, hey, it's daughter time, come here. And there's a set time. Like I said before, it could be a small thing. It could be life-changing in the psyche of that child. It could be life-changing. It could be that you're living with your wife, you're living with her for 20 years, but you never actually take time other than the groceries, the shopping, the bill, the kids, the commute, the this, the that, the other. Somebody's always around. We're always talking about, no. There's a time we're just going to go for a walk. Just you and I are just going to go for a walk and we're going to talk. This is our time. No, there's no phone. Everything's on airplane mode. Everything else disappears. It's just you and me, and we're just going to talk. We're just going to take our walk. Whatever's on our minds. Right? There's that exclusive time. What does that do? Just like in our religion, it strengthens our relationship with Allah, right? The daily prayers on their times. The same way, if we can figure out a way to discipline our time with our family members, you don't have to give them all day. Allah didn't ask for all day. Even Allah only asks for a few minutes every few hours, doesn't He? So human beings actually need a lot less even. But that time, it's not the length of it or the shortness of it. It's the quality of it. If you're sitting with your kids watching a show, watching a TV show, that's not quality time. Even though you're present there, you're not actually talking to them. So you didn't spend time with each other. You both spend time with a screen. You understand? So ittaqul arham can include allotted times that can slowly but surely, one drip after another, in a few months, in a year, in some time, you'll notice that relationship becomes a lot healthier. It's a lot easier to protect. So we come back to the meaning of the word taqwa. Taqwa, actually, I keep translating it as spiritual consciousness and protection. We're protective of our relationship with Allah. Wattaqullah. Protect yourselves from hurting the relationship you have with Allah. This is kind of a nuanced translation of this word. If I lose my taqwa, my feeling towards Allah will get weak. I won't feel anything when I pray. I won't feel anything when I make dua. I won't think about Him anymore. I'm just going to live my life and I happen to be Muslim. That's a life of a Muslim without any taqwa. Taqwa is about consciousness and awareness and a protectiveness. I want to protect my feelings towards Him. The same way I want to protect my feelings towards al-arham. That's the command Allah has given. Wattaqul arham. Inna Allah kana alaykum raqiba. And Allah at the end adds that He's always been watchful over you. He's protecting over you. In other words, this instruction, one way you can look at this ayah is, this is Allah's way of asking to protect you, guiding me, so that we can live a life where both of these things go hand in hand. And I would finally argue that one of the lessons we can learn from this ayah is the taqwa of Allah and the taqwa of al-arham are in fact hand in hand. You cannot have taqwa of Allah and you're not mindful of the family relationships. One will affect the other. And if your relationships are going bad, your relationships with Allah will also suffer. These two things.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it with friends and family. If you want to see more videos from this series, click on the box at the top. If you want to see other videos, click on the box at the bottom. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks.